Hey everybody, it's been a minute since we did one of these Proverbs videos, but I'm glad to be back. Let's get right into it. We are in Proverbs chapter 14, still looking at verses 20 and 21. Let's start with verse 20. The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. That's kind of a bleak verse, isn't it, right? The poor is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. One of the things we need to remember about Proverbs, we're not talking about prescriptions of theology and how things ought to be necessarily. A lot of Proverbs is observational. It's the kind of thing that wise people see when they observe the world. And one of those things that you and I can see is that a poor man, somebody who is destitute, doesn't have a lot of friends, but it seems like rich people have sycophants following them all around, and they live in a different world from some of us, it seems. There's always somebody ready to give them a leg up. And Solomon is the king, watching the judgments come through his court. He picked up on this, as we often do. And we often will condemn the world for this and say, this isn't right, it shouldn't be that way. And then you see something like this in the Bible and you think, see, the Bible thinks it's all right for this to happen. No. Let's keep reading. Look at verse 21. Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. You see these two verses, although they're individual one-off statements, they're obviously put together for a reason. He says, if you despise your neighbor, that's a wicked thing to do. And if you are generous to the poor, that's a good thing to do. So what is this really about? This is less about rich and poor. This is more about the quality of the friendships that you have. When you refuse to be friends with a poor person, but you'll go be friends with a rich person, you might say, I don't like that poor person. He doesn't do anything for me. That rich person, though, well, yeah, that's something. Well, here's the deal. You probably don't like the rich person either. But you're going after the rich friend because you think you're going to get something from the rich friend. And you have no time for the poor man because you don't think you're going to get anything out of the poor man. And in the next verse, he says, if you despise your neighbor, period, whether that is rich or poor, that's wicked. This is so important for us to know. We don't make friends as Christians because of what we can get out of the relationship. And this could be rich or poor. This could be someone that can give you connections for your job. This can be somebody that can introduce you to somebody. This can be, even if you're only going to be with somebody because you're attracted to them sexually. You think, well, I'm going to get something out of them. That's not right either. We don't make friends or love people based on what they can give us. That might work in a professional relationship, but not in a personal one. And he gives us that line in verse 21 that reminds us, taking care of the poor, loving the poor is a noble thing to do. Ignoring the poor is despicable. Sucking up to the rich is also despicable. We don't make friends that way, and we ought to take care of those who are poor and have less than us. If you're only going to treat people based on how they can benefit you, you're thinking about it backwards. It's just like the parable of the Good Samaritan, right? He was a neighbor to that man. It wasn't, who are my neighbors? I'm going to go love them. It's like, go out and be a good neighbor to somebody else. So Jesus was echoing what Solomon says here in the Old Testament, that you need to love other people. Love all of your neighbors, whoever they are. It's the second greatest commandment. And not just to be looking for the rich or the poor, not just going after somebody because they can offer you something, but being friends and loving the people who can offer you nothing. And rather than saying, how can they benefit me? You start saying, how can I benefit them? That's a good friend and that's a good neighbor. God bless you guys. Have a good day.